temperatures that have been hanging there for older than I am long. And let's talk about the things that are affecting agriculture here in our portion of down on the farm country. Of course, that includes places like, say, Sweetwater or Alice or Edna or San Angelo, because that's the amount of the state that we cover. And all the places in the middle like Giddings or Kerrville or Mason or Jourdanton. So as you can see, down on the farm covers a whole lot of country. So let's take a look at Sweetwater. Breezy today, 77 the high, 57 the low, winds out of the south about 14. Let's come down to Alice, mostly sunny, maybe a stray cloud, 84 the high, 58 the low. Let's go all the way west out to Alpine, mostly sunny, 84 the high, 58 the low, winds out of the southwest at 6. Let's go over to El Campo on the eastern edge, not quite as far as we go, but it's pretty close. Sunny today, 82 the high and 50 the low, because, neighbor, we've got listeners all the way over in Louisiana. And finally, neighbor, someplace smack dab middle in the down on the farm country. Let's talk about the San Antonio region. Mostly sunny, 80 the high, 60 the low, and the winds out of the south at 11. Neighbor, there is a pretty good look at ag weather for down on the farm country, and I don't see any rain in the near future. Until maybe next Tuesday. Neighbor, now let's take a look at those commodities of ag interest. And I remind you, and I don't need to do this, but the law says I need to. According to barchart.com and the different traders that we look toward, they say for me to remind you that this is just a snapshot of a price in time. Don't use these prices to make a trade. So let's get on with it. March corn, $4.29 even money, down 1.5. January beans, $11.78 and a quarter, up 2.5. January bean meal, $3.92.70, up $1 and a dime. March Kansas City hard red winter wheat down 9 and a quarter at $5.57 even money. Your March number 2 cotton contract down 28 at 71.55. February live cattle down 177 at 111.37. January feeder cattle down 65 at 136.75. Lean hogs February contract down 262 at 63.25. Your December U.S. dollar up 204 points at 92.51. January West Texas Intermediate crude down 35 at 41.66. Your December gold contract down $16.20 by the ounce at $1,857.77 by the ounce. Neighbor, there's your commodities of ag interest. Brought to you by D&D Farm and Ranch on I-10 in Seguin, never far from where you are, right there on I-10. It covers the state from east to west, west to east, depending on your perspective, and they're right there in Seguin. Everything you need to provide the optimum pasture environment for your livestock. Fencing, deer feeders, hog traps, all the livestock biopharmaceuticals and antibiotics that are legal to sell to you over the counter, plus all the tack for that old pony that helps you get the job done, and the feeds to take care of any animal in the pasture on your place. All the western wear you ever need to get any work job done. That's D&D Farm and Ranch, I-10 in Seguin. Neighbor, now it's time for today's edition of Focus on Ag. Let's see who's at the mic and the topic.
Feedlot losses continue, but the situation is improving. I'm Kerry Martin with Focus on Agriculture on the Texas Farm Bureau Radio Network. For cattle feedlots in the Texas High Plains, things are getting better, but there's still room for improvement. James Hunt reports from Amarillo.
Over the past couple of weeks or so, cash prices for cattle sold out of area feedlots have risen about $3 or $4 to about $110 per hundredweight. But Brady Miller of Texas Cattle Feeders Association says,
if you look at the average animal coming out of the feed yard today, they're losing money. They're losing, about somewhere around $100.
Miller says a lot of pressure is being felt from the recent jump in corn prices, but still the current losses are much better than the losses of around $250 a head or so that were being suffered a couple of months back. And one big bright spot, that massive backlog at packing plants brought on by the pandemic has smoothed out.
Guys are finally catching up and getting caught up. And if you look at the weights coming out of the feed yards today, those weights are finally starting to drop a little bit.
Miller says one present unknown when assessing the economic well-being of feedlots is how much of a difference the government's coronavirus assistance payments are making on their bottom lines. In Amarillo, James Hunt for the Texas Farm Bureau Radio Network.
There's no typical growing season. Each one brings different challenges. So what if this year we do something different? Like stepping up to Altura, a powerful at-planting technology from Nutrient Ag Solutions. Step up to extended nutrient efficiency and plant performance. Step up to better productivity and profitability in your fields. Take your fertility program to the next level with Altura, powered by C2 technology. Talk to your Nutrient Ag Solutions crop consultant or visit lpi.ag/stepup to learn more.
Conventional wisdom says that you get what you pay for, and conventional wisdom is right. You won't find Crystalix in the bargain aisle, but it will always get optimal performance out of your cattle. Whether you feed it in a steel or plastic barrel or our sustainable single-trip bio barrel, Crystalix is more than just a supplement. It's an investment. With Crystalix, performance is served. Visit Crystalix.com to find a dealer near you. Cotton harvest continues ahead of schedule here in Texas. USDA's latest Texas Crop Progress and Condition Report showing we're now 68% harvested. That is well ahead of the 52% five-year average pace. Cotton crop conditions actually improved somewhat here in this latest report. 6% of the cotton crop rated excellent, 16% rated good, 31% fair, and now only 47% of the crop rated poor to very poor, as compared to 50% in those two categories last week. I'm Kerry Martin on the Texas Farm Bureau Radio Network.
Now, neighbor, I know some of you won't be able to stay with us through the whole meal, so Hop Sing's going to go ahead and serve that chicken fried steak, jalapeno gravy, plenty of anti-cease rolls, and a cold cucumber salad, glass of iced tea, cold milk, hot coffee, whichever you prefer. We just prefer that you sit down and listen to Carl Herman from Caldwell Livestock and I speak about the Wednesday sale. Carl, tell these fine folks what happened.
Well, we had 1,320 head yesterday on a steady cow and calf market for 172 consigners and 48 buyers. Had over 100 cows and bulls yesterday. Slaughter cows 30 to 60, slaughter bulls 60 to 85, stocker cows 500 to 900, and no pairs. On the calf side, steers 2 to 3 weights brought 130 to 197, 3 to 4 weights 145 to 202, 4 to 5 weights 136 to 180, 5 to 6 weight steers brought 118 to 150, 6 to 7 weights 110 to 147, and the 7 to 8 weights 102 to 118. The heifer side, 2 to 3 weights 120 to 152, 3 to 4 weights 130 to 182, 4 to 5 weight heifers 120 to 155, 5 to 6 weights 110 to 220, 6 to 7 weights 105 to 131, 7 to 8 weights 97 to $1. Overall, had a good day. Had a lot of cattle, had a lot of good cattle. And want to remind everybody we're going to be off for Thanksgiving next week, and we'll be back going again the first Wednesday of December. I've already got a lot of cattle lined up for that sale.
Good deal. Well,
look forward to it.
Tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
Okay. My number is 979-820-5349. Call the barn, 567-4119. If you're in the Giddings and surrounding area, call Max Ebner, 540-8676.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Neighbor, I want to remind you about my friends, Stephen and Terry Lehman at Lehman Pipe and Cattle. They've got used sucker rod in 5/8, 3/4, 7/8, and 1 inch, and they've got used oil fill pipe, the #1 structural, straight, no holes, splits, or heavy scale, 2 3/8, 2 7/8, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6 5/8, 7 5/8, 10 3/4, and 16 and 24-inch diameters. Also, from time to time, they see some #2 pipe available at a reduced price. Truckload discounts and delivery also available. They also have cattle guards. They make them from 10-foot wide to 30-foot wide, depending on the customer's needs and wants, with or without wings or cross gates. Also, the heavy-duty concrete beams to set them on. Stephen and Terry Lehman, Lehman Pipe and Cattle. Email them at lehmanpipe@gmail.com or call Stephen at 979-966-3447 or Terry at 979-820-8155. That's Stephen and Terry Lehman, Lehman Pipe and Cattle. Neighbor, I believe it's about time to head up into the hill country, so let me look out the window and see if my windmill's pumping water. Not doing a really good job, so while y'all go up to the hill country, I'm going to fix the leathers on this windmill. Y'all talk to Wayne Geiswhite. He had a cattle sale in Fredericksburg. Wayne, tell these folks how it went.
No, we ended up right at 1,800, Larry. Cow market is pretty close to steady. Might have been just a little softer. The better good cows could bring in the 50s. But the thin light cows, you just couldn't hardly give one away. But that's the way it's been for quite a while. Calf market, I didn't have many of those really fancy light calves like I've been having. So on paper, it's going to look like it's a little cheaper, but I don't know whether it's a whole lot cheaper there. It just didn't have the right kind. The good fancy 5 to 6 weight cattle were real active. All the 5 weight calves, bring from 140 to 160 something. 6 weights up into the 130s, and 7 weights. Just, I guess, with the corn going up there, just didn't quite have as much action there. A few 7 weights spring up close to 120. 8 weights, all mostly around $1.10. Heifers pretty active. 4 weights up to $1.40 something. 3 weights in the low 150s. Your 5 weights, most of those bring kind of 115 to 125 or 6. 6 weights kind of 110 to 120. So as a whole, it probably looked pretty close to steady, but there might have been a weak spot here or two on some of those classes.
Good. No sales next week.
No sales next week.
Tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
We're at 830-997-4394.
Neighbor, when I first came to this part of South Texas, there were buku peanuts raised. In fact, I think Pearsall called itself the peanut capital of Texas. I think there's still a few patches, particularly down there around Loar. I know the Slumjenskis that are probably listening to the program right now, either on one of our affiliate stations or the podcast or the live stream that we call it. I know they're probably listening because Brett and his daddy do most every day. Guys, thanks so much for listening. They've been down on the farm listeners from the start and peanut farmers from the start. And that's what we're talking about on today's edition of Texas News and Views. Tom Nicoletti, take it away.
A roller coaster year for peanuts in the state from west to south. I'm Tom Nicoletti with Texas News and Views from the Texas Farm Bureau Radio Network. Details in a minute.
Conventional wisdom says that you get what you pay for, and conventional wisdom is right. You won't find Crystalix in the bargain aisle, but it will always get optimal performance out of your cattle. Whether you feed it in a steel or plastic barrel or our sustainable single-trip bio barrel, Crystalix is more than just a supplement. It's an investment. With Crystalix, performance is served. Visit Crystalix.com to find a dealer near you.
There's no typical growing season. Each one brings different challenges. So what if this year we do something different? Like stepping up to Altura, a powerful at-planting technology from Nutrient Ag Solutions. Step up to extended nutrient efficiency and plant performance. Step up to better productivity and profitability in your fields. Take your fertility program to the next level with Altura, powered by C2 technology. Talk to your Nutrient Ag Solutions crop consultant or visit lpi.ag/stepup to learn more.
For today's program, my guest is Shelley Nutt. She is Executive Director of the Texas Peanut Producers Board. And Shelley, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So give us a quick wrap-up of how the peanut harvest concluded this year across Texas.
Oh, it was crazy. We had such a mixed bag across the state. West Texas, where 90% of the peanuts are grown, had a severe drought, excessive heat, and the yields were reflective of that. We had below average yields across almost all of West Texas. They graded well, but the yields were down. In West Texas, we grow all 4 of the types of peanuts: Virginia, Valencia, Spanish, and runners. We need those Virginia peanuts to have a really, really light shell. And fortunately, our crop looked good, and that's so important on those Virginia peanuts and the Valencias as well. The grades were great, but the yields were just devastatingly low in places. And, we had people that didn't see a drop of rain from March till harvest, just nothing. And we rely on irrigation to help us get that crop set, to supplement our rainfall when there is no rainfall. It just is too taxing on our irrigation wells. Our water quality starts getting worse and worse as the water gets lower. It just turned into a really hard year in West Texas. South Texas is the bright picture of the state. They had very, very good yields. very good quality. Grades were well. So farmers in South Texas and that Atascosa and Frio County area hit a home run this year. And that was kind of the bright spot. And another little bright spot, Tom, was the Panhandle. We've got a lot of peanuts grown up in that Clarendon, Memphis area, and they did really well. They caught some rains that the guys in West Texas didn't catch. Their quality was good. Their yields were good. So we had some bright spots across the state. We had some really, really bad areas across the state, which is kind of like what our year has been like. Just this roller coaster of a year. It's been the same in our peanut production this year.
Year to year, where does Texas rank nationally in peanut production?
We're fourth in production. For years, we were number 2 following Georgia, but our acres have gone down some just with this extended drought we've been under in so many parts of the state. We follow Georgia, Florida, and Alabama now. What does make us unique and puts us in a real niche market for peanuts is that we do grow all 4 types. We also grow organics. We also grow high oleics. So we've got all of these really great things going for us. If I'm going to market peanuts, my farmers make it really easy on me because they do grow the highest quality peanut in the country. That supplemental irrigation always keeps us from having to worry about aflatoxin levels. We use very little pesticide because our climate is so arid. Texas peanuts can pass all of the standards tests just because we grow such a high-quality, consistent, high-quality peanut.
That is Shelley Nutt. She is Executive Director with the Texas Peanut Producers Board.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Visit Texas Farm Bureau Insurance today at tfbinsurance.com to find an agent who's there when you need them most. Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You are listening to Texas News and Views. I'm Tom Nicoletti with the Texas Farm Bureau Radio Network.
Neighbor, when you hear Big River on a Thursday, it's time to cross the Guadalupe. In fact, we'll cross it almost twice and head up to my old stomping ground, Seguin, Texas, to talk to Cousin Brian Lintzman. Cousin Brian, I understand y'all sold buku cattle, and while we're talking, y'all were still selling. Talk to us about it.
When I was thinking 12-13 yesterday, they never quit coming last night. So we ended up with 1,433 head today.
Good. Let's walk the pens and tell us how the ones that have sold have sold.
This dry weather, you get into some of these batches of cattle, and they're dang sure showing the condition. And, the Packer cows, they are too. I'd call the calves probably 5 to 7 softer today with the Packer cows and bulls steady. And let's see how some of these calves did on those 2 to 3 weight steers, $1.10 to $1.70. 3 to 4 weights, $1.32 to $1.90. The 4 to 5s, $1.31 to $1.80. The 5 to 6 weights, $1.12 to $1.60. The 6 to 7 weights, $1.06 to $1.30. And the 7 to 8 weight steers, $97 to $1.24. On the heifer mates, 2 to 3 weights, $1.35 to $1.54. 3 to 4 weights, $1.18 to $1.60. The 5 to 6 weights, $1.14 to $1.66. The 5 to 6 weights, $1.06 to $1.25, and the 6 to 7s, $92 to $1.11. So you can see there's a pretty big spread in there, and a lot of that has to do with just the quality of the cattle and the condition on them. So.
Right. Now, how about sheep and goats today?
Well, sheep and goat market, it's holding its own, and like I said, there is nothing wrong with that market. Those nannies, they brought from $170 to $290 today. The kid goats from $280 to $320. Had a few weathers, they brought from $1.50 to $2.25. And then when you get to them Dorper ewes, they brought from $120 to $190, and the lambs from $240 to $280. So, like I said, there's nothing to bark at on any of that.
And, of course, we will be closed next week for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we will be closed next Wednesday on the 25th.
All right. Well, tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
Hey, give us a call at 830-379-9955, or you can call me on my cell at 830-305-0652, and we wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Down on the Farm Radio Neighbor, if you have land near the Cibolo Creek south of Stockdale to just across the Karnes County line, you may be eligible for a special funding to improve water quality and wildlife habitat. Restore Act funding for the Gulf Coast Conservation Reserve Program is available through the USDA's Natural Resource Conservation Service, but you need to apply by December the 4th, 2021, or February the 12th, 2021. If you're interested, contact the NRCS field office in Floresville, 830 830-393-3555, 830-393-3555, extension 3. Neighbor, I do believe it is about time for us to start up old Betsy, our farm tractor, and head down. Can't get her started some days. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can spray just a little bit of ether into that air filter. Sometimes that helps her get started. She's kind of like my wife, Claire. I got to kind of crank her up and get her started. But then they both start up and work really well, if you know what I mean. Now let's check the grain prices. Milo, $11.53 through Corpus. That was D's plus 220, $11.53. Yellow corn through Corpus, November delivery, D's plus 40, $4.65 and 3/4. Hard red winter wheat through Corpus, D's plus 75, $6.32 and 3/4. And Houston beans, January plus 10, $11.85 and 3/4. Neighbor, let's go and check Texas cotton. Wait just a second for the screen to come up. There it is. 2,145 bale of East Texas, 12,450 bale of West Texas. That's 14,595 bales sold yesterday. 66.08 in East Texas, 69.08 in West Texas. That gives us an average price of $67.58. And it looks to me like that's all the time we've got for today's edition of our program. Of course, I call it Down on the Farm, and they call me Larry Marble, and I call you my neighbor. And Hop Sing and I will call you back tomorrow about this same time for a big old heaping helping of ag lunch. Best darn farm show in 100,000 square miles. It's Down on the Farm, neighbor. It's all because of you. Good day.